Marriage, they say, is built on trust. But no one tells you how fragile that trust becomes when a third person decides to turn it into a game. Ethan and Lily had been married for 7 years. Not perfect, no marriage ever is, but real. The kind built on shared mornings, burnt toast, quiet laughter, and arguments that ended in apologies instead of silence. They lived in a modest suburban home in Ohio, the kind with squeaky stairs and family photos lining the hallway. Ethan worked long hours in IT consulting. Lily was a freelance interior designer, creative, warm, and endlessly patient. If there was one thing people always said about them, it was this: they were solid. That's why no one suspected anything when Mark entered their lives. Mark was Ethan's coworker. Charismatic, funny, kind of guy who could walk into a room and make people feel like they mattered, especially women. He started coming over on weekends, barbecues, game nights, beers on the porch while Lily laughed at stories she'd heard Ethan tell 100 times. At first, Ethan was grateful. Mark filled the silence Ethan sometimes left behind when work drained him. He trusted him. Why wouldn't he? But slowly, something shifted. Ethan noticed the way Mark's eyes lingered just a second too long on Lily. The way Lily's phone screen dimmed faster than usual when messages came in. The way conversations stopped when Ethan entered the room. He told himself he was imagining things. Until one night, while walking past the kitchen, Ethan heard Lily laugh, not her normal laugh, but a softer one. A nervous one. Mark's voice followed. Low. Confident. You deserve more than this, Lily. Ethan froze. His chest tightened, like invisible hands were squeezing his lungs. His mind screamed at him to walk in, to confront them. But his feet stayed glued to the floor. That was the moment the game began. Mark wasn't just flirting. He was planting seeds, turning small marital cracks into weapons. And Lily, without realizing it, was starting to lean toward the wrong person. Ethan went to bed that night beside his wife, staring at the ceiling, feeling something unfamiliar burn in his chest. It wasn't anger yet. It was the slow, sick realization that someone was trying to steal his life, and enjoying every second of it. Ethan didn't confront them. Not that night. Not the next day either. Instead, he did what a lot of people do when their world starts cracking. He watched, quietly, carefully, like someone waiting for proof they're afraid to find. Mark started showing up more often, always with an excuse. I was in the neighborhood, just checking on you guys. Didn't want to eat alone tonight. Lily never said no. At first, Ethan told himself it was harmless. But then the small things piled up. Mark texting Lily late at night. Mark remembering details Ethan forgot. Mark listening in ways Ethan hadn't lately, not because he didn't care, but because exhaustion had dulled him. One evening, Ethan came home early. The house smelled like coffee and cinnamon. Lily was sitting at the kitchen table, smiling at her phone. Ethan asked casually, "Who's that?" She jumped. Just slightly. "Just Mark," she said. He was asking about the color palette for the living room. Ethan nodded, but something in her tone felt rehearsed. That night, Lily lay turned away from him. Her back felt like a wall. Ethan reached out, then stopped, his hand hovering in the air before pulling back. The distance hurt more than any argument ever had. Mark, meanwhile, was doing exactly what Ethan feared. He began positioning himself as the understander, the one who noticed Lily's frustration when Ethan missed dinner, the one who validated her doubts. "He doesn't see you like I do," Mark told her once, sitting on the porch while Ethan was still at work. "You shouldn't have to beg for attention." Lily didn't answer, but she didn't shut him down either. The real damage wasn't physical. Not yet. It was emotional erosion. Ethan felt it when Lily stopped sharing her day, when her laughter softened around him, when her eyes searched the room for someone else's approval. Then came the night that broke him. Ethan woke up at 2:13 a.m. The bed beside him was empty. A faint glow spilled from the living room. Lily was on the couch, phone pressed to her ear. Whispering, "I can't keep doing this," she said quietly. "It's not that simple." Ethan stood in the hallway, unseen, his heart pounding so loudly he was sure she'd hear it. Mark's voice leaked through the phone speaker. "You already chose, Lily. You're just scared to admit it." Something inside Ethan cracked. This wasn't an accident anymore. This wasn't misunderstanding. It was manipulation. Calculated. Intentional. Cruel. Mark wasn't stealing Lily by force. He was convincing her that Ethan had already lost her. And for the first time, Ethan felt something colder than fear settle in his chest. Resolve. If Mark thought this was a game, he had no idea what losing would cost him. Ethan stopped pretending after that night. He went through the motions work, small talk, polite smiles, but inside, every sound felt louder, every glance sharper. His marriage no longer felt like home. It felt like borrowed space. Lily noticed the change. "You're distant," she said one evening, standing in the doorway as Ethan folded laundry. "So are you," he replied, not looking up. The words hung there. Heavy. Unfinished. She didn't push. And that silence told Ethan more than any confession could. A week later, the truth surfaced in the ugliest way possible. Ethan had left his phone charging in the bedroom when Lily's tablet buzzed. On the kitchen counter. He wasn't trying to snoop. He was just reaching to move it. The screen lit up. "Mark, I can't stop thinking about last night." "Mark, you felt it too. Don't lie to yourself." Ethan's fingers went numb. He didn't open the messages right away. He stood there, staring, his reflection, faint in the dark screen like a stranger, watching his own life collapse. When he finally unlocked it, the story spilled out in fragments. Deleted texts, heart emojis, late-night calls logged but unnamed. Nothing explicit, nothing physical. And somehow, that made it worse. Lily walked in behind him. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice sharp with panic. Ethan turned the tablet toward her. His hands were steady. His heart wasn't. "You tell me," her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "It's not what you think." Ethan laughed. Once, dry, broken. "Then tell me what I should think," he said. Tears welled up in her eyes. He just listened. He made me feel seen. The words sliced deeper than any betrayal Ethan imagined. "So you gave him my place?" Ethan asked quietly. "You let him crawl into our marriage because I worked too much." She shook her head, sobbing now. "I never meant for it to go this far, but it already had." What Lily didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that Mark hadn't just been whispering to her. He'd been bragging. At work, at bars. In private messages Ethan would discover later. "She's already mine," Mark had told someone. "She just doesn't know it yet." That was the moment Ethan stopped seeing Mark as a rival. He saw him as a predator. And predators don't stop until they're exposed. That night, Ethan slept on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every ignored red flag. But beneath the pain, something new took shape. A plan. Mark thought he was in control, thought he was winning. But Ethan had finally learned the truth. The most dangerous man in the room is the one who stays quiet long enough to understand the game. And Ethan now understood it perfectly. Ethan didn't explode. He didn't scream, threaten, or beg. That was the first mistake Mark expected. The one Ethan refused to make. Instead, Ethan became observant in a way that felt almost unnatural. Every word, every timing pattern, every weakness. Pain had sharpened him. Sleepless nights turned into planning sessions. If Mark believed control came from charm, Ethan understood something deeper. Control comes from information. He started with work. Mark loved attention. Loved being seen as the smartest guy in the room. Ethan quietly volunteered for overlapping projects, positioning himself close enough to watch, but far enough to seem harmless. He listened as Mark exaggerated accomplishments, took credit that wasn't his, and casually bent rules when no one challenged him. Ethan documented everything: dates, emails, Slack messages, screen captures stored in folders with boring names. Then came Lily. Ethan didn't accuse her anymore. He didn't chase reassurance. He did something far more unsettling. He changed. He became calm, attentive, present. He cooked dinner again, asked about her day, looked at her the way he used to. Not desperate, not pleading, grounded. Lily noticed. "You're being different," she said one night. "I realized I forgot what mattered," Ethan replied simply. Guilt crept into her eyes. Mark noticed too. His texts grew more aggressive, more possessive. "Why are you pulling away? Did he say something? You promised me honesty." Ethan watched Lily struggle with replies. Watched the illusion crack. Mark didn't sound like a savior anymore. He sounded impatient, entitled. That was Ethan's opening. He suggested a small get-together. Nothing suspicious. Drinks. Familiar faces. Including Mark. Including coworkers. Including one person from HR Ethan knew well. Mark arrived confident, smiling like a man who believed the ending was already written. He flirted too openly, drank too much, spoke too freely, and Ethan let him. At one point, Mark leaned close to Lily and said, loud enough for others to hear, "You know you'd be happier if you stopped lying to yourself." Silence rippled through the room. Ethan stood, glass in hand, voice calm as still water. "Funny," he said, eyes locked on Mark. "You say that because honesty has a way of catching up to people." Mark laughed it off. But for the first time, his smile didn't reach his eyes. The trap wasn't snapping shut yet. It didn't need to. All Ethan needed was for Mark to keep talking. Because the more Mark revealed who he really was, the harder the fall would be. The meeting was scheduled for Monday morning. Mark walked in like always, confident, smug, untouchable. Coffee in hand. Jokes already loaded. He didn't notice the tension in the room. Didn't notice HR sitting beside the department head. Didn't notice Ethan already seated, calm, hands folded. The door closed. That was the moment the air changed. "Mark," the department head said, "we're reviewing a few concerns." Ethan didn't speak. He didn't need to. The screen lit up. Emails appeared. Messages. Screenshots. Timestamp proof of policy violations. Credit theft. Inappropriate communication with a coworker's spouse. Lily's name carefully redacted, but the intent unmistakable. Mark's smile faded. "This is out of context," he said quickly. "This is a misunderstanding." Then the HR manager leaned forward. "And this?" Audio played. Mark's voice filled the room, arrogant, careless, cruel. "She's already mine. He just doesn't know it yet." Silence crushed the space. Mark's face drained. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Ethan finally spoke. "You treated my marriage like a game," he said quietly. "You treated people like pieces. And you assumed no one was paying attention." Mark stood up, chair scraping the floor. "You set me up." "No," Ethan replied, meeting his eyes. "You exposed yourself." By the end of the hour, Mark was escorted out of the building. Terminated. Reputation destroyed before noon. Word traveled faster than Mark ever imagined. But the real reckoning came later. At home, Lily sat across from Ethan, eyes red, hands shaking. I blocked him, she said. I see it now. What he was doing. What I let happen. Ethan nodded. I know. There was no yelling. No victory speech. Just truth. I don't know if we can fix this, Lily whispered. I don't either, Ethan replied. But it won't be built on lies. Mark tried reaching out once. Then twice. Then not at all. The charmer. The manipulator. The man who thought he could steal a life and walk away smiling ended up alone, unemployed and exposed. Ethan stood on the porch one evening, watching the sun dip low, the weight in his chest finally lighter. Revenge hadn't made him cruel. It made him free. Because the most powerful justice isn't destruction. It's letting someone face the consequences of exactly who they chose to be.